Okay, part B to the self-divisors question. And on this one, we're writing another method um, that is inside of the same class, right? So that's significant because we are going to use the is self-divisor method from part A. And they're going to give you a starting number, which is going to be greater than 0. And then they want you to find so many self-divisors starting at that number. So the second input is how many self-divisors you want to find. So in this example, they say start at 10 and find me the next 3 self-divisors. So you basically, to kind of lay it out here, we want to have return an array of 3 self-divisors. So that's going to be kind of your first thing, is to create an int array, name it whatever you want, but then have space for however many this is. So if there's, in this case, we want 3 self-divisors, so 3 spots in our array, 0, 1, 2. And then just go through and check, right? Call our method from part A. Like, is this a self-divisor? 10? Nope. So we increase next and say, okay, that one is. 10 isn't because it has a 0. 11, 1, and 1 both divide 11. So the digits divide the original number, so that would go here. All right, and then we go to the next one and check, is this one a self-divisor? And yep, because both 1 and 2 both divide 12. So that is a self-divisor. So we just put it in the next spot. All right, then we say 13. Is that a self-divisor? No, because 3 doesn't divide 13. Next number, 14. Is that a self-divisor? No, because 4 doesn't divide 14. Go to the last one, 15. That is a self-divisor because 5 evenly divides 15, and so does 1. Right, so then we put this here, right? And then once our array is filled, then we're done. Okay, so that's going to be kind of our while loop. Basically, while we still, I would loop through this array. I would create it, then loop through it, and keep going until all the spots are filled. So basically, you could loop from 0. You could do a for loop that starts. Well, actually, no, because we don't know how many times we're going to need to loop. So actually, this one might be better for while. And basically, while we haven't filled the array, so we're going to have to make an index to keep track of where we're in the array, and then also one that keeps track of like the number we're checking, right? So here I was kind of looping 10, 11, 12, blah, 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 right? And so that I got to keep track of which number I'm checking, and then also which spot I'm filling in the array. So we'll need an index, a separate index for the array. All right, so let's see if we can make some sense of that. So we got to write it. We know that we have a starting number and then the number that we want, how many how many self-divisors we want to return. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is make the int array, right? That's what we need to return, which is the divisors. So I'm going to do int and then bracket bracket because it's an array, and I'm going to call it divisors because they are like self-divisors, I guess. And then I'm going to do new int bracket bracket, and then however many spots is going to be whatever this num is. So in the example they gave, it was 3, but basically that means we're going to have 3 spots. They passed in a 5, we'd have 5 spots. All right, and then I'm going to make another thing called the index. Right, so this is the index that's going to track which spot we're filling. Okay, and so our while condition is going to be basically while our index is less than num. So in this case, num was 3, right? So basically we're going to keep looping while this index stays less than num and then fill a spot. Okay, so I'm going to do while the index is less than num, meaning we have more spots to fill. All right, what I'm going to do is check to see if start is a self-divisor. So I'm going to do an if, and then I'm going to call that method from part A. So is self-divisor, right? I'm going to call start, pass in with start. So we're saying, is this number a self-divisor? Okay, and if it is, right? If it is, I want to place it in the array in position index. Okay, so I'm going to do the name of my array, which is divisors, and at position index, I want to put start. Okay, And if that happens, I need to move over the index so that the next time, because the while loop doesn't move the index. So the next time I place it, right? So now I place 0 and then I need to move it over to say where do I want to stick it next. Okay, so I'm going to move that over. Okay, and then also, right, so I only move the index over if I actually placed one, right? But I also want to increase that start number each time, right? Because that's looping through the 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, right? So we only move the index when we place a number, but every single time we want to move the start value. All right, so our loop goes while index is less than num, right? So we haven't placed it. We haven't got to the end of this yet, right? So we're still placing in self-divisor. Check it. If it is, place it, increase index, and every single time you increase the number we're checking, right? We're gonna, each time we check a new number, right? So once the while loop is done, we know our array has been filled. So then we just need to return that. Right, so now we're just going to return our array of self-divisors, which we named divisors. All right, and I believe that should be it for part B. Reach out if you have any questions at all, or this doesn't look right for some reason.